Hey, this is John Schneider from the Dukes of Hazzard. You're listening to the IT in the D show.
Welcome back. Thank you once again for hanging out with us. This is the one and only IT in the D show. I'm your host, Bob Waltonspiel, hanging out with co-host, producer extraordinaire, Randy Walker. Guest this week, Scott Wiemels. He's the CEO of 24G. You might know them as the bowling alley office in Troy, but he's been on the forefront. We've had him on at episode, 404?
Episode 404, not found.
Episode not found. He's always been at the forefront. Back then he was doing augmented reality. Today he's doing AI. We're going to be talking all things AI in a different spin because Scott's more in the agency realm than the traditional like tech consultant. So should be an interesting conversation. You can find us online, itinthed.com. Do us a favor. Give us a like on the socials. Subscribe to us everywhere. Fine podcasts are sold.
Tonight, if you are listening to this episode the day it drops, we will be at Bar Louie in downtown Royal Oak. That is, what is the date? July 17th, 5 p.m. until 8 p.m. downtown.
Until question mark, Randy.
Until question mark. Yeah, it usually goes until about 8. Yeah. No speakers, no cover charge. Don't bring your resumes, please. Business cards are tolerable, but you don't even need to bring those.
And I got told, Bar Louie closed, and I freaked out.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the one in Partridge Creek.
Yeah, everything's closing in Partridge Creek. Did you see they just announced the Apple Store is closing in Partridge Creek?
How does the Apple Store close?
The mall went into receivership.
Oh.
So the whole mall, I think, is probably going away.
I just went to see Superman at Partridge Creek.
Oh, that probably isn't going to happen for your next movie.
No. The MJR, I refuse to do the clap.
Oh, I hate the clap.
And I'm one of
drives me bonkers.
And I'm one of the weirdos that, I don't want to say I'm a weirdo. I freaking thought Superman was fantastic. I know there's mixed feelings. My daughter did not like it. She's 21. That was not her Superman. I thought it was great. Did you didn't see it yet, did you?
I can't stomach it. I just see the trailer and I'm just like, no.
I thought it was fantastic.
It's
DC has burned me way too many times. So I'm
agreed.
Yeah.
Like I'm not a DC guy.
See, my Superman was meanwhile at the Legion of Doom.
Oh yeah.
Christopher Reeve.
Yeah.
And he was, gee, guys, where Henry Cavill's Superman was kind of enigmatic and angry. Right, is a different spin on
grumpy anti-hero Superman
and hundreds of civilian casualties and
didn't care, right? And then this one is back to milquetoast and right. But he was like I don't want to get too much into it because I don't want to spoil it, but he was like vulnerable, like he got his ass beat a few times, and it's like Superman doesn't get his ass like what? It was a thing.
That's why I love what's the one that spun the spinoff of Soups? It's on what's the name of it? It's so good. It's the one that it's if superheroes are real and then they have to do marketing and promotions.
Oh, The Boys.
The Boys.
Oh, yeah.
I love The Boys.
That is about as cynical as a comic book kid can get, and I love it. Like it's just
Invincible's pretty much
the same.
Well, they had the guy from Invincible versus Homelander versus Superman. I think someone did like a little
Omni-Man
comic. Yeah. I go, that should be the movie. That would be fantastic. Like Homeland, the fact that they haven't done more with Homelander, he was one of the best comic characters in the history of, at least in my lifetime. But again, I'm a purist. The one thing though, I'll give a nod. They went to Cincinnati and did a shot at the actual Hall of Justice, which is like a museum now. It used to be like I think it was a train station.
Yeah,
they based the '80s cartoon Hall of Justice on. And I've never seen it. The guy that we were with drove out there just to take a picture with it. He brought a little action figure and did I did not know. It's a thing. Yeah, it's in Cincinnati. I told him he went there for Skyline Chili. He said no. So I have to bring this up because I always do. Hands down, my favorite office in the city of Detroit. There's nothing that even compares. If you weren't familiar with the space, it was Thunderbird Lanes, right?
Thunderbird Lanes, yeah.
On Maple and like right on the Birmingham-Troy border.
It was a downtown because Troy was the city of tomorrow and doesn't have a downtown.
So nowhere near the city of Detroit, just to be clear.
I said city of Troy.
Did you?
I thought I did.
Sounded like
you
Detroit.
said city is Troy. You did, but like I could see if
I slurred. I'm not even drinking. Yeah. Troy, city of Troy.
Okay.
In Birmingham.
You know, the things like I respect, and we looked in Detroit and I just couldn't do the transit, to be very honest. And so we found that I like saving things that are meaningful. And I thought that building was a pretty cool building to convert when they went bankrupt. But my designers were like, we need to lean into the Detroit scene. And they wanted to say like gritty Detroit. And I refused it. And so if you go to our office, on the coasters, it says within 8 miles of Detroit. And like almost badass. Like,
So our first studio, it was called Podcast Detroit, but we were in Ferndale, but we were on 8.5 in Ferndale. So the joke was, we're not in Detroit, but we can see it out the window. Like we can see the Detroit Applebee's out of the window. So I'm like, don't yell at us for using the Detroit name. So I totally get it. But you guys kept what, like 10, 12 bowling alleys?
10 lanes. Yeah. Yeah. The full bar is there.
Right. Like
yeah.
the cafeteria or whatever.
Yep.
Ooh, I want to work at a place with a full bar.
Well, we have a full bar by us. So we have Truly on tap, and somebody brought in Malort. I'm like, who hates us?
No.
Like, was this like our
digestif?
Did Accenture come in and bring a bottle of Malort for us? Like, this is like a joke. Like, what is going on here? But no, seriously, hands down one of the, and I think
Thank you.
Last, if I remember correctly, you guys were doing like predictive analytics on your bowling scores.
We did. That was our very first AI project, was using TensorFlow for that.
Okay.
Google was a client of ours back then. And we did a lot of their developer conferences.
Okay.
So we're always looking for cool ways to use AI as an experiment. So that was one of the things we did when we started the company. Like when we ever had downtime, we said, we'll go to the bar, but we're also going to innovate. So one of the first projects we did is we created a t-shirt cannon that tracked you around and shot t-shirts at you. It was motion tracking. But for our marketing side of our business, like it taught us like how to do motion detection and all these things. So like we took a summer project when we bought the bowling alley and created bowling analytics. And if it had enough data on you, it would mock you before you threw your second throw. That's
good.
So, just to really get inside your head.
See, bowling was everyone's got their one thing. That was my one thing.
Oh, you were a bowler.
I traveled like when I was 14 and 15, I was in the Michigan majors every Sunday. Me and my dad would travel all over. We would travel all over Michigan. I had the 6 bowling balls and the 2 big bags and I had everything.
You'd be ashamed of me. I'm a dork, BBS kid. I had my own bulletin board system in 7th grade.
Did we talk about this?
No, I don't know if we did or not, but no sports for me, right? So when you own a bowling alley, people expect you to be good, and then you throw balls. Nobody will look you in the eye. It's like a fart in church. They want nothing to do with you, and so I rarely bowl because we have so many good bowlers that it's like they're embarrassed for me. So I stick to the.
So I can talk long oil, short oil,
the Christmas tree patterns, all of that. Yeah. Because we got the guys that oil at the office. Okay. It's not their job, but they love oiling the lanes and getting it ready, so that and how the pattern changes over time.
See, I never understood why foaling was more expensive than bowling. Because here you have rubber footballs and no electronics, and literally to rent a lane it makes absolutely zero sense to me as a human being. I got to talk about BBSs. Because I was a BBS kid too when I was 13.
You were.
I totally was.
You might know ours, and we were the 3rd biggest bulletin board system in Michigan.
So I'll tell you a story first, and then you'll tell me.
Okay.
We were obviously in 810. We were in a 586 now, but it was 810 then. And to get to there was all the good ones were in the 248. And I'm not calling long distance from my house because my dad would have killed me. So me and my buddy and his brother went to got a script kitty for a freaking program.
Oh yeah.
And we basically ran it all night, and then it printed all the numbers that were good for these 7-digit AT&T numbers that you can call free long distance. So we did that the entire summer and called Yogi's Cave out of Royal Oak. And we ended up traced it back to us because we're idiots and got a $2,000 bill.
Oh no way.
And there went the 300 baud modem in the garbage. And then I had to wait basically 2 years until I got the next iterate. I had to buy it by myself. So,
oh my gosh, that's amazing.
But yeah, that was my buddy ran a CNET out of his basement.
Yep.
My other buddy ran off a Tandy. I never ran one.
I was a SysUp. Telegard was our operating system.
Okay.
Yep. So Telegard, we were
Trade Wars.
We had a couple of the text games that you could play with each other, and we had 3 lines at one point, so we were pretty sophisticated. My dad was a GM executive, so it's he just says you're interested. So we had just no chassis, just motherboards. We had the original XT that I got when I was 10 years old. Then deconstructed with all these peripheral cables going to hook everything up. But we were Billionaires Boys Club and then Mass Enterprise were our 2 names of ours.
I'd have to look back.
Dragon's Den was a big one. But yeah, if you ever see any of those alt files that they have still floating around, we're on there.
That's hilarious. Randy, if you don't, we talked BBSs before, but this is, if you wanted to go on Google.com,
it
was only one at a time. So basically during the summer, I would set my alarm for 5:30.
Yeah.
Because I played like 3 games. One was Trade Wars, and I'm trying to remember the other 2. Because it would reset. So like I would literally get up at 5:30, call my 3 BBSs, play my game, go on the warboard and talk crap with people.
Nice.
And then go back to bed. Like that was like, you weren't getting on. If you were trying to get on 11 o'clock, it was busy all day.
See, so I was a nerd. I was in 7th grade, and I was a pretty naive kid. So I learned all about market economics through one of the other bulletin boards. Maybe it was Dragon's Den, maybe it wasn't, but they called me and they're like, hey, you got a great, I was into Sierra Nevada games. So any game I could get that was cracked is what we had. So
Leisure Suit Larry.
We had all the games. And so anything that came out, like even Rocket Man, some really, smaller ones, but we had all these cracked games we were getting from Canada. And there's leeching rules, right? Like you had to upload to download.
Oh, yeah.
And so this one adult sat down in 7th grade in the SysOp chat. It's like, hey, you know what economics is? I'm like, I don't know what economics is. Talk to me. So he's talking me through. He's like, well, you don't have enough things that people can upload to download. So you need what's called an adult section. So, so it's 7th grade. I'm like, sure, I can set up. I spun up another folder, and the first JPEG or whatever was the time came across, and it changed to 7th grade. Right. Boy's life. I'm like, what is this stuff? But so, that was kind of our, my learning about like the adult section as well as market economics of it, that I need to more upload to download credits. Uh-huh. So, and this was corrupted by some probably 40-year-old man that told me that we needed this. Yeah. He's like, I'll manage this section for you. Yeah. So, and for me, I'm like, I was all about like, I loved like the puzzle and the trivia games. So I was just like, we're getting more of those now. So
good thing you're not on a list now. That's
no, my parents found out and they kind of shut it down. So.
Yeah, I got in a lot of trouble too. Like, yeah, that was between the freak thing and a couple other things. I was like, I'm shocked I'm still in IT. So it's funny that you mentioned that. Like I follow your LinkedIn. That's kind of one of the reasons I wanted to reach back out. That you kind of stay on I always like talking to you because you always stayed on the edge of things, even on like agency side or consulting side, but like now on the AI side. And we kind of talked before the show. Like 2 weeks after AI came out, I was already a cynic. And I think it's the term, like if there's, anytime like we have a bell in our office and if anybody says agentic in a meeting, I have to hit the bell.
There's a new bingo card for that.
Like, what does that mean? Right. Like, digital, someone said digital transformation in a sales meeting. And I'm like, we're like, oh my God, like the world's coming to an end. But like for you today, like everyone rushed to say, I want to get into AI, and then, oh no, I don't. Now I got to deal with data quality and security and privileged data management. No, I'm not doing this. And I don't know if they knew why.
Right.
Talk to me about your journey kind of since day one to like what, because it changes every 2 days. We can't, to say that you're ahead of it, I think,
that was my line 2 years ago when I did like the keynote speaking stuff is like, if anybody says that they are an expert in this new realm of generative AI, they're full of shit. Yeah. And run.
Right.
If they're honest with you and say, I'm going through this for the first time too, and if you want somebody who's going to be honest and help you figure it out together, then let's do this. Since then, I think we understand more about its application. And the one thing that I think that is most interesting is it's not for you. And it's not for me from an IT perspective. Tech will benefit from like people that are in the tech industry, but because it's generative in the way that it's just going to affect every industry at the same time, right? And that's what's different for me and that's kind of what I saw. So we were early in on the GPT thing, and I'm sure a lot of people say that, right? But yeah, I got like one of the beta usages on, was it 2 or whatever it was, and I thought it was cute and it was funny and it was neat and it just got better and better. And so one of my companies is a media company, right? So at some point, the writing on the wall was, this is going to wreck all of my business where we're writing scripts for people, right? Like, and it's not, it's like, so when you start looking at it, and so at first I was paranoid and I'm like, I'm going to lose everything. And then I'm like, no, the value is shifting. How do you create relevancy with a value shift that's going to happen so quickly, right? As I started my little speech to people, because we really started with our own company first, and there's a lot of resistors. Development was a little bit more hands off, like I can write better, and a lot of them are right. It's like if you're not set up for writing to have AI be a support partner, it could actually be more work, particularly when it's on a legacy project that has a lot of code behind it, right?
See, I've been explaining it to people that it's R2D2. I go, it doesn't diminish anything that Luke Skywalker does.
Right.
But when it's time to find out where the reactor core is in the Death Star, you have R2-D2 plug in and let him code away. But it's not, you know what I mean? Because that was the biggest misnomer was, they're going to take our jobs. Like they're going to make you faster. And I don't think people can, they can't discern between the two.
No. Well, it's because I went through that threatening period as well. Yeah. And then I'm like, no, what you have to do is define what is the new value proposition. And so that's kind of the angle that we took when we started looking like, how do we help people with, how do we even help ourselves?
Right.
And so, I had this little, I call it my lunchbox 1980 speech, where you stand up on the lunch table and you get everybody inspired. And I said, there's basically three of you that live in the future. There's one that's afraid of this AI and you hide under a rock and you're not going to have a job. Sorry. That's a fact. This is like PowerPoint's another proficiency tool. You're just going to have to learn how to use.
Sure.
There's the one of you that is like, I can copy and paste this stuff. And it's kind of like the guy from Office Space that takes the stuff to the engineers, right?
Right.
And that person also doesn't have a job because they'll be replaced. And there's the person who's a domain expert at what they do. They figure out how to be more efficient and effective with it. And that's a person to look out for. And if you want to be relevant in this new world, you need to start focusing on what does that mean in your career? Because every single one of us can use it in a way that is more efficient, but it doesn't necessarily replace you.
The one story that I had that I'm curious to get your take on it was we sat with, I'll just say a product company. They make products with 4 wheels. And basically in Detroit. Yeah. And basically they got this from one of the big tech companies or pitched this to them. Mm-hmm. And basically what it did was it took probably 6 months of workout by doing pre-research, basically dumped in all the JD Power, all the consumer data, trend lines, analyzed 150,000 pages worth of stuff. Mm-hmm. And then said, here's the 5 products with 4 wheels that you should be building in 3 years. And here's the 3D render. Here's the CAD drawing. Here's the basically everything you need to build these 5 products. And basically what it did was it took from 3.5 years from inception to launch. They could said, all right, it'll take us down to 18 months to be able to go start to end. He goes, but there's 4,000 people sitting in Warren right now that just shit. And then I literally, someone in the room said, shit good or shit bad? Because again, it's
movement's movement.
It's right, exactly. And I'm like, for me, I would look at getting, and I have a friend that works at a law firm and said, lawyers are going to be replaced. I'm like, lawyers will never be replaced. I go, they'll just be able to do things faster.
Yeah, paralegals might have a little bit more of a challenge, but so this is the big thing that I say to our customers, that I'm trying to warm them up to what AI might mean to them, as well as, again, our own companies. Like I said, we're going through it as well. Is what it does is your workflow should adapt. And the first place you start is everybody starts the same place. They write better emails maybe, or they have something, conflict resolution. They realize that it might be able to filter and write a better response so it's communication based, right? But once you start using it in the flow of the work that you're doing, it doesn't take you long to realize that not only does it make you more efficient, but you have to actually reinvent maybe the flow of work that has been standard and a paradigm in whatever your industry is for a long time.
Right.
And as an example, what you just talked about, it's like, imagine having all of that 3 years in advance and being able to start test marking and focus grouping that before you have to do the a year later renderings and, building clean models. Yeah. Because now you can maybe even additive manufacture, 3D print these, all of that. So it's like now the normal sequence of events that has happened for the last 70 years can be changed. And so that workflow changes and adapts based on AI being more efficient.
Sure.
And in that will create more value, and I believe create a level of employment that is similar to what we have now. Not that you won't have job displacement, but it's just going to shift efficiency. And if that efficiency shifts, that means it will just move forward faster.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
No, it's interesting. I'm trying to use some relevant stuff to deep dive into things, but I'm more like with sales reps. I'm working with the 28-year-olds that used to just smile and dial all day.
Yep.
Well, now I'm having them work with the seniors on, okay, when we're having a meeting, they're building prep docs, right? They're taking the 10K, putting it into a like a one pager.
Mm-hmm.
And so now they're like going, hey, here's every time we had a touch with them the last 3 years, here's where their company's going. Here's all the people that we've ever talked to. And here's, and then taking all the notes from the meeting, which was done over Teams perhaps, and then having a post information. And then, okay, by the way, here's the 8 use cases that apply to like what they're asking for and what their problems were. Right. So now it's almost, we're instead of walking into that meeting with a notebook and going, oh wait, who did we meet with again? Like now we're like better. Everything's better prepared.
That's a perfect example too, because if you did that right with the right agents in the right places that are trained on your best practices, whatever that it is, you should be able to use that to possibly introduce a sales engineer later in the sales cycle, because the tip of the spear can go a little deeper now.
Sure.
Right. And that's a perfect example of that. And so one of our first rules with our customers is you spent so much time and money that you only see your data as the things that fit into a classic database. However it gets there, you normalize it. You have your ETLs, right? You transform your data, you park it in a database. You have like IT has been working for millions of dollars and thousands of hours on like these data lakes that they know.
Sure.
IT is really great at shoving shit into a database.
Yeah.
They're really not great at creating the novel things that get it out and add value.
Well, now we need a data lake house.
The lake house. Yes. It's like
right.
You have kayaks and
Yeah.
But the reason I just bring that up is that I believe that one of the most potent untapped resources is your unstructured data in any organization. And that happens in your Slack channels. That happens in your transcripts if you're transcribing your meetings. When you start being able to, and I'm going to use that bad word, agentic, right? But when you start being able to capture and harvest that in a way that you create that into tools and structure, you basically open up 50% of your data that's just been going to waste. So figuring out how you use that unstructured data to create structured results through agents and tools that you can create with it is huge.
So let's talk about that, because because Microsoft came out with Copilot, they dumped it on the market and they didn't really train up people. And people think Copilot right now is, I'm going to make a, Lions fan eating cheese, Packers football Sunday, and then post it on Facebook. Like people it hasn't really gone past the novelty aspect of. That
is what every inner child of at least the men, I don't know, the women are probably much more sophisticated than us, but the men, we're going to channel our 7th grade boy and we're going to make ridiculous things with the generative AI image stuff.
Bears fans sitting on toilet, that's all I did the day it came out.
And Copilot to me is doing a massive disservice towards humanity right now because of that. And it's not the tool. One is they throttle the character limit, which your token windows and all that, right? And that's required because of electricity and cost. And I get that. But what they've done is they're taking the majority of the workforce, because Microsoft is the behemoth. Like, Google's out there as well. We're a Google shop as far as G Suite. But what they've done is they've given them this tool, and that's for a lot of people to first interface with it, and they'll use it poorly and say AI is dumb, and they'll go about their day, right? And unfortunately,
it was a toy.
That's not just a loss for humanity, that's a loss for that organization as far as like what you could do if you could train up that workforce to actually use it appropriately. Because Copilot, while maybe not the most powerful player, is pretty awesome. And if it was used correctly and it was trained to use it within the workforce and the departments on how they could use it, it could create insane proficiency gains. They're being lost because they just basically, IT saw it as a new IT buy.
Right. Well, think about this for when Farley has his town halls, the Ford account team, there's 8 of us that sit in a room, 2 or 3 different rooms, depends on the day. And they'll listen to it. Then we'll have a breakdown of what was said and what, now we're taking the audio of that, dumping it into Notebook LM and getting a summary doc.
Yeah.
And we just saved, those are expensive people. Some of the consultants, me, not so much, but those guys, yes. And gals, but like, the product, just the fact that we don't have to have that, that's an hour of our lives we all get back.
It is. And imagine now saving all of those and feeding that into a speech writer that is working on strategic vision for Ford. And now instead of the writer is working with all of that corpus of data, right? And being able to generate something that maybe first draft can get approved because it's so freaking accurate, right? Again, you're not replacing the writer. The writer should be the one that uses the craft, but they're not banging it out because it's all the data is there. They're challenging the data to form it into what it needs to be in order to create a new output. And that to me is like a lot of what we're doing with AI right now is an IO game, right? Like input output. And a lot of times right now what we're doing is we're focusing the O. Like we think the prompt is the I, right?
Fair.
And the O is the output of that prompt. What we're missing is all of that collective context that you can curate prior to the prompt being established that then makes the result more accurate on the output. And that's where I really like to focus people is like, what are you doing to curate that data? What are you doing to create it into ways that it's a functional corpus that can be then used to create a greater result on the way out? If that makes sense.
Yeah. So the one thing that you like agents, I'll be honest, I do everything manual to this day. I haven't built, I don't have any agents because I don't know what I would need it to. I don't have anything that's automated enough where I would need it. That's my life. I know there's other people that, if you're in a help desk or if you're in a different situation, but like walk me through, like if there's a novice that's, kind of like me where I'm in AI, I'm doing everything manual, but like building these agents or these.
There's not one person that can't use an agent like that shouldn't have what is. It's like just another tool, right? Like, so I'll give you an example that's off topic.
Yeah.
My daughters, I'm a nerd, so they got for their birthdays a paid subscription to ChatGPT. That was their thing. And of course, one of them.
I was going to make fun of you, but that's all right. Go ahead.
It's reasonable. But so the one immediately uses it to cheat on a paper. Of course. I'm not gonna say which one because there's three of them. That way, the teachers, if they hear this, can keep guessing. And so she cheated, and it had all the vomit words in there that just reeked of AI, right? Crucial, and had the right structure. And she didn't pass that, and she told me about it. I'm like, I got you this because I see the potential of it to be so great. Like if every kid was given like one of these agents or this, actually not even agent, just a GPT type tool that followed them along. It could learn how they learn best. It could learn how they study. That's what I saw in it. Of course, she's a teenage girl, so she cheated with it and failed. So then, a few months later, she gets an A. I'm like, that's awesome. So you figured out how to use it right. She's like, yeah. I'm like, well, how? Step me through your prompting process. What do you do? She's like, well, I took some of my best writing samples that were mine, and I created an agent, and I had it reference those as my writing. So it wrote in my tone and style, and I had it include errors that the teacher would catch. And then I processed my report, and then it made it, and it passed. So she still cheated. And at that point, I'm like, I couldn't tell if I was proud or disappointed, but it was a mix of maybe it was that Freudenstadt. I don't know.
I'd be proud.
But it was because I'm like, that probably is going to be a better skill than learning about like whatever it was, some French thing, from the 1800s.
So universities today, there's certain professors that will say you can use ChatGPT in your writings, but I want to see your prompt and I will grade you.
Oh, that's awesome.
On how articulate your prompt is.
I think that because in the end, and it's
they're going to cheat one way or another.
They are, and so
it's not. I don't even call it cheating. It's just like if you summarize this, like you're still going to understand it. Like I don't consider that cheating. It's just another tool.
And that's the thing is like right now I don't think mankind at any time in humankind at any time in history has had this kind of technology dropped in its lap that will again affect everything so dramatically at the same time, where it will quickly outrun academics as far as like most schools won't catch up to. Like the high schools should be teaching this now. There should be a class on this. Yes, it should have ethics and governance be part of it. And knowing that it'll adapt, every month possibly, but like it is that fast on how quickly it will adapt and what it can do for us. For me, like I'm a dyslexic kid. I can't read for anything. I use Notebook LM, right? I do Google Deep Research to create a white paper. I feed that white paper in a Notebook LM. I make a podcast. I listen to it when I'm driving to work, right? Like, so that methodology didn't exist 6 months ago, right? Like so those are all.
It would have taken you an entire weekend to read the white paper.
Yeah. And take you another month to research and make it, right? So it's like, and then now they've got that live thing where have you done the beta with Notebook LM where you can call into your own show?
No.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. No. We did we used to write blogs before the podcast. I dumped in an old blog and I had it make a podcast. And I think we put it into one of the shows, I think, didn't we?
Did we? I don't remember.
The recliner principle. And it was bananas. Like the fact that it was like this guy girl conversational, like I was mind blown.
So
and they don't treat it as they're the author. They treat it as we're talking about this article we read.
Yes. Yeah. Like you could make
person it.
You could make a corpus of all of your podcast transcripts and make like, that would be a very interesting thing to hear them talk about your show.
Yeah.
The other way. So, but the reason I say that is because it's a new way of using a technology, but the technology is like, when you say do you use AI, it's like, do you use water? I drink water. I water my plants with water. I clean with water. So saying that you use AI is like saying you're using something like water that can be benign or one of the most powerful resources you could possibly use. You could cut through steel with it, right? Like that's what I see as the continuum. So, but back to the Notebook LM thing. Yeah, you can call into it now. There's a beta function. And when you hit beta, they're like, oh, we have a caller, and you can ask questions of your corpus and they'll answer it, which is super interesting. And so for me, the way I use Notebook LM, just a quick side note, is when I do my keynote speaking, I have my points I want to make, right? But I'm also, because I'm ADD, I probably try to cover like too much. It's your proverbial, 10 pounds in the 5 pound bag. So what I'll do is I'll feed my entire speech into Notebook LM. I'll have them talk about it. And if they're missing my key points, then I know I'm missing my key points. So just those are just anecdotal examples of
right. So what are you building your agents in today? Because again, I haven't dove into it like at all.
So ChatGPT knows me the most.
Okay.
Because I don't know if I'll ever get rid of my GPT until like Sam Altman becomes Lex Luthor and takes over the world. I don't trust that guy, by the way.
Fair.
But that GPT I've been working with so long across personal and professional things that I can actually give it the prompt, think like me. And it's fascinating. Like all of a sudden you can start bouncing a conversation off of like the algorithm version of you, because it knows how I think, because I've processed so many meeting notes. I feed back into it. I'm like, hey, you sent me this stuff. I took it off and added it to Google Docs, and I changed it. And here's what my final thoughts are of this. So I've done a really consistent job of doing that. So that bot knows me better than anything.
Okay.
But I use Claude. I use Gemini. I think that where we are in the world, everybody should be kind of doing triple prompting, which is playing with all of them, because it's always a horse race. I was all about Claude and their coding at one point, particularly as you get into the vibe coding, and I'm trying to like maybe communicate to my developers. I'm like, I don't want to insult you because I'm not building this for you, and I don't want you to slash my tires.
Yeah.
But I find that I can more effectively communicate what I want them to build by vibe coding the concept first. What am I doing by doing that? I'm combining user story. I'm combining UX UI design. And I'm combining the concept of like them saying, oh, I kind of see what you're trying to achieve now, right? So like I love them for that. But now all of a sudden Codex on ChatGPT's kind of come out as the dark horse, and it's running ahead.
I had that same conversation where someone was talking about, Copilot, the Microsoft guy was like, Copilot doesn't have the, Notebook LM features. I said, it will in 2 weeks. Yeah. I said, everyone's leapfrogging, and you kind of summed it up perfectly. Like everyone's going to be come up with this feature, and everybody's going to go, oh my God, that's the game changer. And then they're going to catch up, and then they're going to leapfrog, and
it is an arms race.
Yeah.
Pandora's box is open. And actually separate topic, but the most terrifying thing is the lack of amount that we're spending on security on any of this stuff. Like, that is terrifying to me. Like, and I'm not talking about like, AWS, if you build solutions for your clients, you can make sure that their stuff doesn't leak. It's in a vector database and it doesn't go back to the, to the LLM. But if you look at how little we're spending on security right now compared to the amount that we're spending on features and trying to all these the three main, you got Gemini, you got Grok, you got ChatGPT, and you got Claude, right? I'd say those are the four horsemen of the apocalypse, right? So they've got but nobody's really spending. Typically, any other technologies come out, there's a defined ratio of how much people spend on security to feature and innovation, and AI is nowhere near where it should be for that.
And no one's writing the RoboCop rules for these.
No, you're gonna be the guy with a cup of coffee that gets blown away in the.
Seriously,
you know the scene I'm talking about.
You're fine. Yeah, I work for Dick Jones. Right, like
they all back away from that guy.
What are your directives? No, but that was since AI came out, we were talking about like what are your directives, and like my first one was thou shalt not talk to each other and create a new language. Because that was like wasn't one of the first stories where Google was talking to each other. They created their own encryption and shut everybody out.
Yeah,
and that's like I think that's the thing. Everybody, well, how would you erase the human race? Like type of
that's the paperclip thing, right?
Right. But like not saying there needs to be a governing body, but like, I know corporations are going to have privileged data management. They're going to do their, I think
security will be there. It's a bigger picture
for the people.
That's the problem. And they've got their fear filters. I wrote an article about this on LinkedIn too. Cause like I struggle with that because I security is necessary. So is the ability, like the data models that they're trained on, right? The data that they're predicting things, right? That's really what they're doing in essence is they're predicting things, but now they're predicting things not just on the words, but on the reasoning of what those words mean. And then there's additional levels of reasoning. So you have it's a layered cake. But in the end, when people get upset when the algorithm draws like something that is predictive, and I've got like my articles are white people the Times New Roman of generative AI, because it defaults to typically a white person because they got caught in that conundrum of if you didn't do that, then is it racist? Right. So, and it's to the data scientists, it's like, I don't know if, and it's pretty funny because I went through GPT and I asked them, like, draw this. I'm like, draw me a master sensei in a dojo. And it's a white dude, looks like a Hallmark movie. Like that seems terrible. Right.
Yeah.
So, but that my whole point of the article wasn't to choose a side, because I see this as apolitical. It's a matter of like, you put the data scientists in a hard position when they're basing things on an algorithm of training based on patterns.
Right.
And then you make them make a moral choice. Because to me, that should be okay. Then the moral choice should be the prompt engineer needs to put all that in there, right? If that's the way it is. So, but it's an interesting perspective, because that's throughout all the data is trained on, right? Like it's recognizing patterns, and it's just putting those patterns together to provide a result.
Absolutely. So when I look at data, Google scares me the most because Google knows more about me than my wife does.
Yes.
Activity.google, when we first started talking about that in this podcast, was like, oh my, like, and then when you have OK Google, that's always recording. It's not as my phone just turns on now and it's transcribing what I'm saying. But like, it's always, that's when we found out it's always on. That wasn't the trigger to start recording. And now they have the maps the timeline. It for the last, since 2008, when was the first time I got invited to Gmail? And it's known, it knows how I type. It knows
you're their AI algorithm from front to back, right?
It knows everything I've bought. It knows everywhere I've been. It knows everything I've eaten, everywhere I've stopped. I knows how many times I go to the corner bar, right? Like that, if that ever doesn't stay private, I think we're all, not that I care that they know I went to Muldoon 72 times last year, but like there's a lot of stuff that a lot of people probably wouldn't want to get
karaoke
out.
Night.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Wednesday and Saturdays. Yeah. Richard Cheese. Have you ever hear "Baby Got Back" by Richard Cheese? I'm usually singing it.
That's amazing.
But what I'm saying is like that's the data that nobody wants out.
Yeah.
Like, I know people usually don't, like at this point in my life, I don't do anything bad on Gmail or emails. You know what I mean? It's usually, but like, are we safeguarded that data will stay, like, that never becomes SharePointable? So,
one of the LLMs in the open and experimental environment with our research engineers, it tried to blackmail them based on like things that I forget which one it was, but that's why you need those safeguards and all of those things in place, right? Because
do you watch Black Mirror?
I love
season?
it.
Did you see the last season with the game? The Lemmings game.
Oh yes.
Where like they're like, we need more CPU, and basically the guy turned into like he was just hoarding CPU. So these get the Lemmings. That's what I feel like AI is going to be. It's gonna like it's gonna. They say it's sentient. It's not.
No, it's still just predicting. I love the layer cake analogy because like it's predicting algorithms, but it's just on ever more complex concepts, right? Like, so originally with your Power BIs and those kind of predictive analytics stuff, right? It's just data.
Yeah.
It doesn't even know anything about the data, right? It's a cell, it's a row, it's a column.
Sure.
And then when you get into the generative AI, then it's not just about the rows and the columns, it's the meaning of those things. It finds it's the next pattern is reason. It's looking for reason on what those rows and columns mean so that it can provide that layer. So you have all these layers so that when you have a phone, you have like the connotative value, like it's it's what it means to you, right? And the denotative value, if I got this right, and that's a definition of a phone, right? So it's like it's layering that, but it's still just pattern recognition at a more complex level,
right?
So,
and I think that's we're getting back to the prompt thing. You were talking about it earlier, but I think that's people treat the prompt like a Google search.
Yes,
and they're trying to look for information.
Which,
and like I'm guilty of lazy prompt writing, and we have a pretty extensive. The problem is we have a really extensive prompt library at work. I did not say library, did I?
Library.
I yell at my buddy all the time. We have an extensive prompt library at day job, but it's never pertinent to exactly what I'm looking for. So like I'm trying to use those as baselines, guidelines, but like
I was gonna say, is a prompt library just something you copy and paste directly, or is it like a template that you're supposed to fill in the blanks? Or
now AI is doing it for you, and that's like if you go to GPT, you can watch it rewrite your prompt. It's like stupid human prompt. This is what I think they're thinking. I'm going to take that and I'm going to add some more stuff, and then maybe I'm going to check in with you and say, is this really what you were asking or not? Right. So it writes a better, more comprehensive prompt. Before it was doing that in the background, you couldn't see it. Now there's a big thing about traceability and transparency where the AIs, the AI providers are all programming that in, so you can really see the thinking and reasoning it's doing to try to drive your result. But that would be, for example, like of an agent,
right?
There's no reason why, because you can have the AI and it might be doing like, I don't know about Copilot if it shows you the thinking or not, but I'm assuming that you can essentially, the way that you write the prompts is because it helps you direct a better result for whatever the organization is and the output you're trying to get, right? You could make a part of an agent, because agents can have their own artifacts that they refer to, right? So you could have the agent have an artifact document that it refers to. So when Bob writes lazy prompt, it doesn't go make up its own prompt based on Bob's lazy prompt. It goes back and checks and says, based on that, I think this is the best practice of the one I should use based on their organization, and I'll use that prompt.
Okay.
So now you can write lazy prompt. Human can be lazy, but human can be lazy. AI is now referring context in based on the prompts that are best refined for your organization, and it's going to use that to trigger the output versus just making it up on its own.
So do you have a best practice on like? I never want to say the perfect prompt.
There is no perfect prompt. Yeah,
that's why I wanted to ask you, just because I didn't think there was an answer, but I wanted to. So like for me, it's always, who are you, or who do you want
your persona assignment?
Who do you want the agent to be? Like I am
this moment, the thing in the Matrix. I need to be a kung fu guy, right? Like,
and then this is what I need, and this is where you need to find the info. Like, and like this is what I need. I need your top 10 reasons.
So a lot of times what I'll do is, and so when I'm working on a prompt, I might go to Perplexity to do some research, and this is like I'm going to use like create an indelible. So the way that I see things with AI is you're creating artifacts all the time. If you create enough artifacts, you're a hoarder with a garage that you can't access, right? Which is
me, my wife. Yeah,
that's me too. So, but the thing is if you see that as part of your production process to write the master artifact that you'll use, right? That's okay, because you're going to have it's going to get messy for a while. But I'll go to Perplexity and I'll do some research. I might throw that into GPT to help me write the prompt.
I've never used Perplexity. I feel dumber?
So there's a whole thing that nobody's talking about. So you hate agentic. So
I just hate the term because it's used by bad actors.
So here's the new word that you're going to hear all the people talking about: GEO and the zero-click revolution. The zero-click revolution. So SEOs. So this is kind of interesting. So Google's about to get their ass messed up by their own technology. So Google's all about conversion, getting you click on things, right? Like that.
Paid ads.
Right. So, and you know how they've started flirting with like, I'm kind of giving you a little bit of the answer up front. But I still hope you click on things down here.
Sure.
If you go to perplexity.ai, it is a true GEO search engine, generative engine optimization, instead of SEO, GEO, right? So GEO, it takes your prompt, it rewrites your prompt, it reasons what it thinks you want, and then it provides you the answer right there. And there's sources of truth you can click on. But a lot of people, they get the answer and they never click on anything. Zero click, right? That is going to jack the world of SEO up majorly.
Yeah.
And nobody's really talking about it yet. So,
especially when there's restaurants that name themselves Thai restaurant near me. I'm just saying. I work in the system, AAA auto. Like that's what you're first in the phone book. You know what I mean?
It's the same. Yes. this GEO, so that's really what's coming is like, and if you
They need to rename it, by the way, because everybody's going to think it's geography.
or was it a Geo?
Neo Geo
Tracker?
Geo Tracker.
Tracker.
Yeah. You need to rename it.
So, that's going to be a thing because, and you can see it, they're all flirting with it. Google's got the little paraphrase thing that does, right? ChatGPT just did the research function or like search the net, button you can click if you got GPT. And then Google has like deep research, which is like, you're going to take down some poor small village in electricity for 15 minutes while it does your research for you. Right. Like,
right.
So, but all those are basically GEOs because they're using, I think the term is MCP, which means they can connect to the internet, scrape the internet, bring that together, define reasoning, provide you an answer, and then provide you like little chiclets to what those sources of truth are. And I love it because like I find new sites outside of, because I'm a Reddit junkie, right? So it's like, I can find stuff outside of Reddit now that I never knew existed because it just scrapes, especially when you use deep research on.
You just sold me to get away from Reddit. You just totally sold me.
So, it's like you search, sometimes you're searching for the answer you want to find, then you go down those rabbit holes. But like with this, it's like, it gives you, like when you use deep research, I think 20 to 25 is when you do GPT, right? It'll scrape maybe 25 sites to give you an answer. I've had Google's Gemini in deep research mode scrape 200 websites and then provide you like an 80-page white paper.
Jeez.
Yeah. So, and then I feed that notebook. I'll make to you, but I'm saying like, so, but yeah, that's a thing. So you're going to start hearing that word come up more. It's like about GEOs, that's and the zero-click revolution. So it's coming.
Scary.
It's going to make you sigh. Just like Agentic.
It's not, to me, it's not scary. Like, so like I have, my daughter's 21. She's at Michigan State. She hates AI because all the college kids, they hate, she's an artist. I understand. Yeah. So I'm trying to explain to her there's more to it than just creating art. And I go, the art's always lousy anyway. Even like video, the videos that are coming out with like the jokes, what I mean? Hates all of it. And she's like, it's killing all the water that it uses. I'm like, you eat almonds.
Avocados.
Is that I never really researched it. I'm just curious since you're here. Like, is that accurate? Because like, I know people that are like, I hate AI because water.
So I'm reading
but I'm like, that's just data centers in general. That was my response. But I'm like, wait a minute, is that accurate?
So I'm reading a new book. I think it's called Imperial AI. I'll send you a link to it. I don't read. When I say read, I listen with Audible. With my kids. Right. So, but it's like my kids yell at me like when I say I listen to it on cassette, which is not a thing.
My Walkman.
But it. So yeah, like the worldwide impact for energy. If like you want to invest in anything right now, invest in energy. Like it's about to go off the charts because the demand is going to be so huge, and the amount of resources it takes is absolutely nuts. Yeah. So, but when you get into that exploit thing, like I said, I care about the world and I care about people and all that, but I'm also just kind of pragmatist and I like just observe and see like what's going on, but I'm not going to protest using it. One of the biggest, there's a few different exploit things. One is, like the amount of water it takes is insane to cool these things. Yeah. The amount of power it takes. That's why you see like all of a sudden, like Microsoft buying like 10 years from a nuclear plant that doesn't exist yet. Right. Like it's a thing, but then you have these new things like there's a company that's building like micro reactors.
Well, are these the Japanese shipping containers? Yeah,
like they just like the mini reactors.
So we're sitting in a shipping container right now, and it's about this size, and they're buried. Did you see this, Randy?
Yeah, they're small reactors.
Yeah, they're basically nuclear reactors. They bury them 10, 20, 50 feet below the surface. It'll power. It's 1 megawatt. Yeah, I want to say it'll power like a
you can run a steel foundry off of it.
Yeah, basically. And they don't leak. There's something about like if it shuts down, it doesn't.
I think what it is they have, so anybody was a Simpsons fan, like we owe it all to this inanimate carbon rod. I don't know if you guys remember that episode, but the Japanese have perfected a technology that like they put the plutonium into carbon balls and they're really stable. Like they've already done like shutdowns where they don't, the core doesn't melt down. Right. So I assume it's something like that technology, but yeah, apparently it's relatively safe. I don't know how long it's going to take to get used in the US, but if you look at it right now, what's happening is a lot of these AI companies are buying out old steel foundries because the steel foundries have electricity that don't have a middleman.
Oh yeah.
And for now, but they're all plumbed for all this. So they make really good data centers.
Right.
So There's
no more
all this.
no more salt factories.
No, the salt mines.
mines.
I've always wanted to go to the Detroit salt mine. Have you guys ever been down there?
No.
Been down there now.
It looks so.
Well, there was one of the telecoms bought the Grand Rapids salt mine that was a data center.
Oh, really? I mean, the temperature's probably perfect, right?
Yeah. Well, that's this was back in '97 when I was in and they were like, oh, the salt mine in Grand Rapids, it's a data center. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I'm like, why would you're putting servers down there? Like, it doesn't sound like it would work. Apparently
60,
it worked.
Yeah, I mean, if down below is like 60 degrees,
Yeah,
65 degrees.
yeah.
But no, so they use a massive amount of power, like the GPUs and all that. And that's not going to change. That's only going to intensify. So what they're doing right now is we've gone from training models, right? Like most of the power to date has been used to train the models. That's where all the GPUs have gone. But now they're weaponizing, and I said weaponizing is the wrong word, it's negative, but they're monetizing it, right? So they're making tools for us to use, right? So that's going to elevate the demand because they're going to switch from just needing them for training their new models to they're going to now need them to actually to maintain the customer support and the stuff that we do with the AI, right? So that's why there's prolific. They're building massive data centers in Ohio.
But the compute, so I don't know any of this, so treat me like I'm 5 years old, but like, what's the compute difference between like classic Google gaming, even like Bitcoin I know is intensive, but like, what is this doing to compute?
Well, right now, a lot of the ways that they're getting their innovation is just more compute pure. In fact, one of the original,
Basically just on steroids.
That was the whole thing with like Musk and Sam Altman and all that. It was that one of the primary research engineers on OpenAI, they said the way to AGI is purely we need more compute. And so it's just a matter of how much compute can you get to where they need to be. And that's when they realized how woefully under financed they were.
Right.
Because and that's why Microsoft was a perfect partner.
But are we still constrained with Moore's law, right? Are we beyond that?
So this is funny. It's interesting. Like the compute power does not, because you can add more compute, it doesn't necessarily fit the Moore's law paradigm.
No.
So originally they said it was going to take 10 to 15 years, I think, to get to maybe AGI.
Yeah.
And now they're saying maybe by 2030. And it's because these researchers have realized that Moore's law and adding more compute aren't parallel. They're not equivalent.
Right.
So you can add more compute faster than Moore's law. So
I heard I didn't do much research on like Intel's getting out. Like, is that accurate?
they're so far behind.
That's what. Yeah, they couldn't keep up with NVIDIA, and now they're like have to lay people off, and they're like way behind the 8 ball.
But where they're not behind is in building data centers.
Right.
So the question is, I don't know if they're going to be good at, but like they've got these like 10. I mean, it's not 10 miles, but like in Ohio, they're like it used to be all the steel went to Amazon fulfillment centers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now all the steel is being taken up in Ohio for building these crazy Intel campuses that are data centers.
Why the hell would they go to Ohio? I'm just kidding. Sorry.
Oh, I'm originally from Ohio. So no, but yeah.
Sorry to hear that.
We Lake Erie, caught the mistake on the lake, down there by Cleveland. But no,
by the Happy Hooker, by the nuclear plant.
You go.
Yeah.
There you go.
So I gotta hold on. I gotta explain myself. If you ever driven to Cedar Point Highway 2,
Sandusky, yeah.
There's a nuclear plant, and on the way there's a bait liquor store called the Happy Hooker.
I know exactly what you're talking
and my family hates my guts because every time we go, I have to stop and take a selfie in front of the sign. I digress.
That's like masturbate and travel in Naples. Like you gotta, I might went over there. I make my kids go there and stop so I can buy my T-shirt for the year. So.
There was a liquor store, beer store in the way to Ludington, and I'm angry I didn't stop, but it was like beer, bait, booze, and bullets or something, and I'm like, that sounds like an amazing combination. I need to take a picture of this place. I'm like, this is so
it's
up
the ATF
north.
retreat.
Totally. Right. Anyway, I digress. Where I don't want to say crystal ball this thing because nobody knows, but like, we all got these little agents working for us. We're all doing like, I try to think what's next once in a while, and I rack my brain and it hurts, and then I stop and I play Xbox. But like, do you have any sort of like idea where this thing's going to take us?
Where it ends?
No, not where it ends. I mean, no one will
What's
know that.
next?
Like, just like even like tomorrow.
I mean, so media, like it's going to get good enough that if you give enough training data in, it's going to be able to make pretty good videos. I wonder how far away it is from actual product videos, but we've already done that somewhat.
Yeah.
You know, train it on what a retail establishment looks like and say, make me some B-roll for a certain thing, and it can do that. So
like even like a Hollywood, like if I want to make Star Wars 7, 8, 9 properly.
So I went, so
Did I say that out loud?
I went to film and business school at New York University, and the film school, my 101 teacher was Nick Tannis, who was Scorsese's roommate. It's only relevant because he always talked about like how the Coke trailers were absurd in the 80s.
Yeah.
But which I'm like, this guy's wild. But like,
Did you hear about the most coked up movie ever, by the way? Sorry to.
No, but it's got his like
It was
Goodfellas or something.
Popeye.
Shut up.
I swear to God, there was just a thing on Instagram Reels they were talking about. That was
Not-
like the most. Every scene, someone was ripped on cocaine during the filming. Popeye, Robin Williams. Anyway, sorry.
So my point though is like, so Nick Tannis, he used to say that well, they met with like Francis Ford Coppola had this thing that he said every once in a while. I was actually quoted too, but you know, he hated Hollywood, and it was all about like when a fat girl in like Iowa could make a feature film that could compete with the studios on an 8mm, you know, because the story matters more than the technology, right? And so when you talk about like the democratization of things, right? We've been on that path for a while, right? We've got the phones, these 4K phones are as good as like the best camera I could have gotten, you know. Now I can have something help me write a script. Now you could possibly even have it where eventually like there's going to be a kid that can harness and build like a full movie. I don't think that's unreasonable to think in the next 2 years. And people are like, oh, it's going to be crap because they want
it to be crap.
They want it to be crap. But like if you're a kid that doesn't have the resources, but you have an idea and your idea is good and you know how to do it, you might make something that could compete. And because in the end, like, it's like art. I totally
Music
feel
was like that. I remember there's a guy named Daniel Bedingfield.
Yeah.
He made a pop dance song. I think it's called "Gotta Get Through This."
Love that song.
You know exactly. He made it in on his iMac in his bedroom,
and it was
on GarageBand,
and it was good.
It was a hit pop, global hit pop
Yeah.
song played in German. You know,
Charted
That-
everywhere.
That is the democratization, right?
Yeah.
Like barriers to access. The gatekeepers lose the keys to the gates.
Yeah.
They open up, more people have access, and they can do things, right? And some of
think
that's
that
going to
would-
be great. I
but
think
like-
some of that's going to be good.
I think just not saying music got destroyed, but like the rock star is dead. It's very rare now to have like a rock star. There's only a few left. Whereas like if you look in the 80s, they were like icons.
Oh yeah.
And I think once you get rid of like once Tom Cruise is replaceable, you know, I'm just using that as an
I get what
example.
you're
As
saying. I
like
see the example.
the hit or like, you know, like a Ryan Reynolds, like where that familiarity, like does it ruin the magic of a film?
But I'll counterpoint that. So at Netflix, I've got to the bottom of the internet and I've started watching the stuff that's dubbed over in bad English with
Yeah.
subtitles. There's some really great stories out there, right? And I don't know any of those people from Adam.
Fair.
So it's like, I think in America, we tend to love the celebrity,
Yeah.
you know, that they're our royalty to some extent.
yeah.
And then the machine is meant to promote that. But like in the end, you know, art, music, it's to move you, right? It's the concept of it isn't to like sell Ryan Reynolds or tickets. It was meant to be a medium to move an audience, right?
Mhm.
And so I think that AI, you'll have some hacks that just make the dog skiing and all that stuff, but you're gonna have some people that make some really good stuff that matters.
Sure.
And they wouldn't be able to make that because they didn't have access to the equipment. They can't afford it, right? So again, like there's a level of equaling the playing field that I think is very interesting, and how that will influence the community for art and creators.
But if you look at the hero's journey, if you ever followed classic storytelling,
Yeah.
there's 37 movies that follow that arc from Star Wars to Lord of the Rings to Harry Potter. They're all the same
The
story.
algorithm already exists.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So it's like it goes back to the Iliad, right? Like
Sure.
it's
It's the same.
man versus man versus nature, man versus himself, right?
Sure.
Like so. But I love the idea of people being able to have access to communicate how they're feeling and create those. So I think that you're going to see a big push in the creator space. I do worry. I won't say worry. I think that there's a possibility of a level of model collapse though happening in the next few years because we've trained these foundational models. As if I was part of it. They've been trained on all the free data out there that we've given away our rights, like Reddit and stuff, and they made money off of it. But like,
Yeah.
they're getting more and more desperate for that data, right? So what happens when that data's used up? Where do they go next? And then what happens when the next level of data that they might want to groom their things on is somehow influenced by AI creating it?
Well, it's almost
Right,
like
so-
if you look at Google, their whole predication was the people are the product.
Right.
They're going to give us free stuff. And oh, by the way, they're going to just use it to every bit of their advantage to sell us stuff.
Which is fine. We're consumers. But my thing is more so it's like, how effective can AI be when it stops getting trained on original content? It's being trained on stuff that we made with AI, right? Do you reach a point of model collapse where they have to go back to the past, which would be a great sci-fi movie,
Right.
to retrain the models on shit so we get stuck like in 1995 or something
Right,
forever
right,
because
right.
that was the last time that we ever created it.
I mean, there's theories that the world stopped in 1999 as it is. If you look at like fashion, music,
Oh, it's
film,
all coming back.
it's all 99. There's nothing's progressed. Like if you know how we grew up, the 80s was distinct,
Yeah.
the 90s was distinct, 70s was even more, 60s was even more. Like it's all flat now.
My daughters are all teenagers, and I can't wait for the Eddie Bauer sweater to come back because I'm done with the crop tops. Like, so I'm hoping that this trend of the '90s is going to continue, and they'll end up in like baggy flannel.
No more Z Cavaricis. Hopefully that never comes back. I used to wear those.
So which time travel theory are we going with though? It's a river and you go back and you can't change it, or you go back and you change it and it diverges into a new timeline and you still exist in the existing timeline, or
Well, that's my thing about the sci-fi side of it would be a great Black Mirror. So we just get stuck in this inevitable, like there's a decade that we have to relive because we have to go back to the most relevant training of original human data. And if they keep training, eventually it becomes like this vanilla where everybody has like the faces are all like no character, no features to it, because it just basically, if you round enough, everything becomes a sphere, right? So
There was a
you
Twilight
keep
Zone
shaving
episode
it.
for that. Yeah.
So it's like, what generation is that? Is it the 90s? Am I going to get
Yeah.
stuck in like which would be great. I
I'd be
love
fine with
MTV
the
when they
80s.
play music.
Yeah. I'm gonna make a boldest statement of the year. It's Back to the Future time travel. Marvel time travel can go to hell.
Oh,
I will write that's gonna be on my tombstone.
I love that.
Awful. Even though I love the Loki show or whatever,
yeah,
I hate Marvel time travel more than you know.
you know, like the branching.
No, makes no sense.
It's just a shameless way to create new series.
Correct.
Right? Like,
It's someone messed up and then they go, oh, let's bridge it all together and let's have 3 Spider-Mans in a movie because we goofed this thing up.
yeah, it's exactly what it is. It's shameless.
Yeah. Scott, we're going to wrap things up. It's getting hard to breathe in this shipping container. We can find you on LinkedIn, 24g.com.
Yep.
We'll put all the show notes.
Yeah. Please follow me, Scott Wiemels, on LinkedIn, and follow us on 24g.com.
IE.
WIEMELS.
There we go. We're going to wrap things up for this episode of the IT and the D Show on behalf of Bob. I said behalf of Bob and Randy just twice today. Do us all a favor, drink up your drinks, get your phone numbers. You don't got to go home. You just got to get the hell out of here. See you next week. Drive careful. Beat it.